Congratulations, humans! The enthusiastic speaker was the Zalarian ambassador, the president of the galactic community. Mammalian with 2 pointing appendages and 2 walking ones, her smooth skin tones ranged from soft blues to vibrant purples and greens to display her excitement. At around 2 meters in height, Cilial towered over the other occupant in the room, Ambassador Emily Wald, the young representative of the human species to the galactic community. Technically, humanity had decided to send an older, more experienced diplomat to represent them, but the elderly statesman had to be evacuated after a health emergency halfway through their month-long journey on the warp ship, lent to them by the neighbouring alien species that had accidentally stumbled upon the human colony at Alpha Centauri. The delegation was already almost all the way there, so they quickly swore the 39-year-old Emily in as the temporary replacement before Earth could send another. Thanks, the human replied uncertainly. Saliel beamed at her. This is truly a remarkable occasion that has never occurred in my lifetime. Truly remarkable. Your species will make the annals of our history. What a joy! What an honor! Wait, what have we done? Emily asked, wondering if there was an important intelligence report she'd missed in the emergency briefing. Ah, of course. Allow me to explain. You are one of the very, very few species that have managed to make first contact with the galactic community before building your own FTL, faster-than-light warp ships, Saliel explained patiently. Okay. Sensing that the human did not understand at all, Saliel held up one appendage and started rummaging through the many drawers of her desk. Hang on, let me find that book, she said, her tall figure bending over unnaturally to look into each of them. Ah, here it is, she said triumphantly, a few seconds later, bringing a small notebook to the top of the table. She brushed away the dust gathered on its ancient covers, opened it to its first page, its only page it seemed, and turned it upside down so Emily could read it, which she couldn't, because it was written in some curly alien language. There were 5 lines on it. Siliel held up her appendage again, picked up a writing device on her desk, and scribbled a new line on it. And now, you are the 6th. Emily obviously still did not understand. The 6th? The 6th species to make first contact before creating a warp ship. Among the many thousands of species in the galaxy, there have only been 5 others like you. What a rarity! Is this your way of politely telling us we're stupid? Emily asked, frowning. Saliel opened her mouth in shock. No, of course not. Worry not, human. I assure you this must be a complete accident of nature. The galaxy is huge and there are many intelligent species. It is only a matter of time before something like this occurs. The other species that did this all went on to develop their own warp drive shortly after, and they all became fully productive members of the galactic community. Emily crossed her arms. So, are we close? Is our technology level getting there? What are we talking? Years, decades, centuries? Saliel chuckled. Oh, how quaint. You think it's about... I'm sorry, I'm being rude. No, human, the development of FTL is mostly about luck, and the knowledge that it could be done at all. In fact, all the other species on the list managed to make their own warp drives within a year after contact. Please. Like I said, this is just a notable curiosity. Not anything that should impact your future status in the galactic community at all. Oh, cool. Sensing she was still concerned, Saliel continued hurriedly. And I'm sure that your species will develop a warp ship quickly. The principles are not a secret. Even if you do not choose to reinvent the warp drive, you are permitted to buy the technology or the ships from any other member of the galactic community. All of us will be happy to transfer some of it to you, at a small reasonable fee, of course. Regardless of which path your people chooses to take, I'm sure humans will be zipping around the galaxy in no time. Phew, that's a real relief to hear, Emily sighed, letting go of her held breath. Alright, so are there any rules on where we can go, where we can colonize, that sort of stuff? Ah, the map, yes. The galactic community maintains a full map of all the systems every species has ownership of, Saliel said, as she pointed to the colourful digital wall, showing the starfield behind her. Every 10 years, every galactic community species is allowed to settle an additional unclaimed star system, and every 10 years we meet here to vote to approve your expansion plans. Once the approval goes through, you are free to do whatever you want with the system. This process is mostly a formality. The galaxy is huge, and star systems are massive. Most species don't even use their expansion allotment every 10 years. Only on a handful of occasions in hundreds of thousands of years have we had to adjudicate and decide between conflicting expansion plans. Emily cocked her head, examining the map of the stars behind Saliel. So I guess we'll have to use our first 2 clones on Alpha Centauri and Bernard Star then? Since we've already built colonies on them. Actually, no. Because you are a pre-FTL species, the Galactic Community Founding Charter specifically protects your rights. When you formally build your first warp drive soon, the 2 systems you have exploited so far become part of your FTL birthright, along with your home system. No waiting for approval on your claims needed. This was originally put in place to prevent members of the galactic community from subjugating uncontacted species. But I'm sure it won't be a problem for you. The galaxy is huge, and there are more than enough star systems and resources for everyone. As you can see, over 99.99% of the galaxy is unclaimed, Saliel reassured her. Huh, that's interesting, Emily said, leaning back, apparently deep in thought. Saliel frowned. What is? Say, can we get a copy of your rules? I just want to make sure to have our people look at it, so we don't accidentally start a war over something trivial. Saliel made a snorting sound. What? Please, Ambassador. Nobody in the galactic community fights wars against each other. At least none in my lifetime, and never for territory. It's far too expensive. Sure, some of the younger species still have their internal wars, but there's really no point in interstellar war between species over territory. The galaxy is huge. There's way more than enough for everyone. And you'll have to go so far out of your way just to meet people. There's nothing to fight over in the vast expanse. Emily smiled back at her. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Still, we'd like a copy of the rules, just in case, right? Sure, human. I'll have my office transmit a translated copy to you by the end of the day. If you want to read over that old thing, knock yourselves out, Saliel thought, sighing internally. Seriously, what kind of species asks for a copy of the rules on first contact? 15 years later. President Saliel, this is an unprecedented outrage. Ambassador Zilrina of the Vorflax fumed. His species was a dark green-skinned reptilian one, with a thick protective shell over his back. They were known for being physically slow in movement, but his speech did not exude the regular calmness his people were known for. What's wrong, Zilrina? Saliel asked with concern. Did the blogger firm rope your people into another one of their scams? I told you guys last time, you can't just ship them all your rare resources when they tell you they're going to double it in a couple years. That's not how the matter recombobulator works. Zilrina shook his head slowly. They said they'd triple it, and no, we've learned our lesson. It's not them this time. So what is it? As you know, we have just finished colonizing and developing the planets in our home system, and our people are looking to expand into a nearby system. Now imagine our surprise when we took a look at the galactic claims map for our neighborhood. Somehow a pre-FTL species has started exploiting and laying claim to every star system within a 2-warp range of our home. How is that even possible? Saliel covered her face with an appendage as she coughed twice, embarrassed. Ah, yes. The humans. Yes, them. We sent a ship into a couple of those systems to see how they possibly could have settled each of those systems. And they haven't. They've just placed a standard communication buoy in orbit around each of them, claiming that means they've exploited the system as a pre-FTL species, and transmitted each of our ships a copy of the Galactic Community Founding Charter with their legal notes on it. Well, those are the rules, she shrugged. But, The rules protecting primitives are only supposed to be for species that don't have warp ships. How do they get to those systems in the first place? Ah, they hitched a ride with one of their neighbors who did have warp ships for hire. Since they technically haven't built their own drives and ships, it apparently doesn't count under the rules specified in the charter of the... The Vorflax ambassador interrupted her angrily. That is outrageous sophistry. And what's more, President Siliel, is our people have been doing some more research into this. Oh, good. You have? Siliel sighed. Yes, Madam President, and we discovered that not only do the humans know exactly how to build warp ships... Do you know where the highest rated learning institution for warp drive engineering in their galactic sector is? I have a feeling I'm about to find out. Olympus University, on Mars, a human-run institution, on a human planet, in a human system. It must be theoretical study or light experimentation, I'm sure. We have monitoring stations. They haven't actually built... He interrupted her again. Do you know the second highest rated one? The Pathfinder Institute of Technology, on Mars. Do you want to know the third highest rated? Siliel ventured a small guess. Is it also on Mars? Zilrina shook in agitation. No, actually, it's an orbital habitat in Alpha Centauri, another human system, and it's specifically marketed towards non-human students. They are literally teaching engineering students from their neighbouring species how to make newer, better warp drives. How can they still be considered a pre-FTL species by the galactic community? They are making a mockery out of the institutions and rules protecting primitive species from exploitation. Ambassador Zilrina, there has indeed been a rigorous debate in the community over whether the charter needs to be amended to close this loophole, as some would call it. We call it outright abuse, he said, pounding a fleshy arm on her desk. Siliel held up an appendage gently, as if to calm him. Yes, well, those discussions are ongoing, and we will be sure to take your complaints and your dispute into consideration, along with several other species that have contacted us about their territorial claims recently. He seemed mildly pacified by the notion that at least something was being done, and that other people had the same problems. How long will it be before we see a resolution? The working group meets next in 10 years. 10 years? They've claimed our entire neighbourhood in the short time they've been at it, and you want to give them another 10 years to go around and plant their flags in more systems? Well, 10 years is just when we meet. An amendment to the Galactic Community Founding Charter is likely to take far longer. Siliel read the ugly expression on his face and quickly tried a different track. But in the meantime, I'm sure we can address your concerns at an individual level. Are there any star systems near yours that you have your eyes on? Perhaps we can set up a subsidized warp refueling station to help your ships get there at a lower cost. The closest system to us that is not yet claimed by the humans is at least 3 full warps away, and who knows, maybe they've gone there and claimed it right as we're having this conversation, Zilrina said sarcastically. What if maybe you can work it out with the humans? The few times I've interacted with them, they seem like a reasonable species. Perhaps they'd be willing to give up just one of their claimed systems near you, or some kind of mutually beneficial shared agreement. Zilrina sighed. Along with the Galactic Community Founding Charter, their communication buoys transmitted to our exploration ships their price for the system. Price? Yes, price. They want 1% of the future GDP of the entire system in perpetuity, and they would retain the right to evict us from the system at any point in time with little notice. That does seem a bit steep, Siliel started. And they said that's their introductory pricing, because it'll be our first system outside of our home system. They implied heavily that the second one will cost even more. How much more? She asked out of curiosity. He waved his arms around, dismissing the question. Does it matter? This is squatting, it's extortion. And if they continue their behaviour, our people will be forced to take drastic measures. Drastic measures? Like war? Siliel asked hesitantly, her skin unconsciously changing hues to show apprehension. He paused, leaning back. War? No, of course not. Why would we go to war? That would be even more expensive. Orders of magnitude more expensive than whatever benefit we can possibly derive from having one or two new systems. Right. The galaxy is huge, she muttered under her breath in relief. But we are planning to denounce them in the galactic community, and if they don't change their behavior, we will stop sending them our delicious food. She gazed down at him sympathetically. I'm sure they will be sad to see your delicacies go. How about this? I'll set up a mediation meeting. You, me, and Emily, the human ambassador. The three of us can sit down and maybe together we can find an equitable solution to this problem. Surely we can come to an arrangement that satisfies both sides? Fine. But just to let you know ahead of time, we aren't paying anything over 0.5% of GDP for a star system, the Vorfax ambassador insisted. And it better be that binary star system with 3 habitable planets. Saliel nodded in agreement. Of course, that seems like an entirely reasonable starting position for you. 30 years later. The now 70 years old Emily grinned at Saliel, with her wrinkled but no less bright smile. With the first flight of our new Kestrel Explorer, we have officially developed and flown our first FTL-capable starship. Consider this our formal notification to the galactic community about our status change to a fully fledged FTL species. Saliel resisted the urge to display her orangish skin hues. That was the equivalent to the human rolling her eyes. It's about time, Ambassador Wald. We will be dealing with some of these vast territorial claims of yours for the next few centuries. But for now, congratulations on your full membership in the interstellar community. I believe no introductions need to be made. No worries. I know my way around, Emily replied cheekily. And thank you, Saliel. We couldn't have made the complete transition without your help. Their people had finally agreed to build a warp-capable starship, and to stop their senseless expansionism in exchange for some special voting privileges in the galactic community. Saliel couldn't wait to find out what their negotiators snuck into the fine print there. She sighed. I am almost afraid to ask, but how many star systems will you be claiming as your FTL birthright? Emily pulled out an electronic device and read off its screen. Exactly 841,382,024 systems. Just under 1% of the known star systems in the galaxy. Oh, good. Only 800 million star systems, Saliel repeated sarcastically. The human smiled back at her innocently. You were right. The galaxy is huge.